In the heart of Paris, where history whispers through ancient alleyways and the past lingers in every shadow, a hidden relic lies waiting to be discovered. This relic, an artifact shrouded in mystery and steeped in the legend of the Knights Templar, holds secrets that have been buried for centuries, secrets that could rewrite history and unleash unimaginable power. Meet Marie, a dedicated historian with an insatiable curiosity, and Sophie, a photographer with a keen eye for the extraordinary. Together, they stumble upon an ancient relic in the catacombs beneath the City of Light, sparking a thrilling adventure that will test their courage, intelligence, and loyalty. Joined by Henry, a passionate researcher, Antoine, a pragmatic detective, and Lucas, a friend whose allegiance teeters on the edge, they must navigate a labyrinth of danger, betrayal, and intrigue. As rival factions close in, determined to claim the relic for their own sinister purposes, the group must race against time to decode its secrets and protect a legacy that has been guarded for centuries. Will they uncover the truth and preserve the Templar legacy, or will the shadows of history consume them? Chapter 1. The Invitation. Paris in the spring is a city alive with promise. Cafes are buzzing, the Seine is glistening under the sunlight, and the streets are filled with people. It was on such a day that Marie received the call from Henry. She had known Henry from her university days. He was always the one with a knack for finding trouble or adventure. His voice, however, carried a weight that Marie had not heard before. "Marie, I need your help. I think I've found something extraordinary in the catacombs," Henry said, his voice trembling slightly. Marie hesitated. Her weekends were usually spent preparing lectures or delving into old manuscripts. But Henry's tone piqued her curiosity. She agreed to meet him later that evening at a small cafe near the entrance to the catacombs. Marie arrived at the cafe to find Henry already there, looking more disheveled than usual. With him were Antoine, an old friend from their days exploring the French countryside, and Sophie, a tech-savvy journalist who had recently returned from an assignment in Egypt. They were joined shortly by Lucas, a quiet but observant man who had recently become part of their circle. Henry wasted no time. "I've been exploring the catacombs for years, as you know. Recently, I came across a hidden chamber. I think it might be linked to the Knights Templar." Antoine leaned forward, intrigued. "The Templars? Weren't they disbanded centuries ago?" "Yes," Henry replied, "but their legend persists. There have always been rumors of hidden treasures and secrets left behind. This chamber, it feels different. It's like it was meant to be found." Sophie, ever the skeptic, asked, "And you want us to go down there and see it for ourselves?" Henry nodded. "I can't do this alone. I need your expertise, Marie. Antoine, your resourcefulness. Sophie, your ability to document everything. And Lucas, well, your eyes and ears could prove invaluable." Lucas, who had been listening quietly, nodded. "When do we start?" "Tonight," Henry said. "The catacombs are best navigated at night. Fewer interruptions." Chapter 2. The Descent. Night fell over Paris, casting long shadows over the city's historic architecture. The group gathered at the entrance to the catacombs, an unassuming gate that led to the underground world of bones and mystery. Henry led the way, flashlight in hand. The air grew cooler as they descended, the smell of damp earth and ancient bones filling their nostrils. The walls were lined with the remains of thousands, a stark reminder of the city's past. "Stick close together," Henry advised. "It's easy to get lost down here." They moved through narrow passageways and expansive halls, the light from their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. Marie couldn't help but feel a shiver of excitement mixed with apprehension. The catacombs were a place where history and legend intertwined, and she was eager to see what Henry had discovered. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a section of the catacombs that Henry had clearly marked with chalk. He stopped in front of a seemingly ordinary wall and pressed a loose stone. The wall shifted, revealing a hidden doorway. "This is it," Henry whispered. "The hidden chamber." They stepped inside, their flashlights illuminating a room filled with ancient symbols and artifacts. The air was thick with dust, and the walls were covered in cryptic carvings. In the center of the room was a stone pedestal with an intricately designed map and a small ornate box. Marie approached the map, her eyes widening in recognition. This map, it's centuries old. And these symbols, they belong to the Knights Templar. Sophie examined the box, carefully opening it to reveal a silver amulet bearing the Templar insignia. "This is incredible," she murmured. "But what does it all mean?" Henry sighed. "That's what we need to find out. This map appears to show locations within the catacombs. I believe it's a guide to something much larger." Antoine looked around, his instincts kicking in. "If we're going to follow this map, we need to be prepared. The catacombs are dangerous, and who knows what else we might find." Lucas nodded in agreement. "We should gather supplies and make a plan. We can't rush into this blindly." Henry smiled, grateful for their support. "Then let's prepare. Tomorrow night, we begin our quest." Chapter 3. The Hidden Chamber. The next evening, equipped with supplies and a renewed sense of purpose, the group descended once more into the catacombs. Henry led them back to the hidden chamber, where they gathered around the map to plan their route. "This map indicates several key locations," Marie said, tracing the lines with her finger. "Each one is marked with a symbol. If we can decipher these symbols, we might be able to find whatever the Templars left behind." Antoine studied the map closely. "We'll need to be careful. The catacombs are filled with traps and false passages. It's easy to get lost or worse." Sophie, ever the pragmatist, had brought along her tablet to document their findings. "I'll record everything we see. If something happens, at least we'll have a record." Lucas, meanwhile, kept a watchful eye on their surroundings. "We should move quickly. The longer we stay down here, the more likely we are to run into trouble." With their plan in place, they set off, following the map's directions. The journey took them deeper into the catacombs, through narrow tunnels and vast chambers filled with bones. At each marked location, they found clues that further illuminated the Templars' purpose. In one chamber, they discovered a series of carvings depicting battles and rituals. Marie translated the Latin inscriptions, revealing that the Templars had hidden their most valuable treasures in a place of great significance. In another chamber, they found a cryptic poem etched into the wall. Sophie photographed it while Henry pondered its meaning. "This poem is a riddle," he said. "If we can solve it, it might lead us to the next location." As they moved from one clue to the next, the group grew closer, their shared excitement and determination bonding them together. Even Lucas, who had been reserved and distant, began to open up, sharing stories of his own explorations. Finally, they reached a chamber marked with the same symbol as the amulet. Inside, they found a hidden compartment containing a set of scrolls and a detailed map of the final location. "This is it," Henry said, his voice filled with awe. "The final piece of the puzzle. We're close, my friends. Very close." Chapter 4. Decoding the Map. Back above ground, the group gathered at Henry's apartment to examine their findings. The scrolls were fragile but well preserved, containing detailed instructions and illustrations. Marie carefully unrolled one of the scrolls, her eyes scanning the ancient text. "This scroll outlines the journey of the Templars as they fled persecution," she said. "It mentions a sacred relic, hidden deep within the catacombs. A relic said to hold immense power." Sophie cross-referenced the illustrations with the map they had found earlier. "These symbols match the ones on the map. If we follow the path outlined here, we should be able to find the relic." Antoine nodded, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "But we need to be cautious. The Templars would have set traps to protect their secrets. We can't afford to make any mistakes." Lucas, who had been examining the amulet, spoke up. "This amulet might be the key. The Templars often used symbols and codes to unlock hidden passages. We should keep it close." Henry agreed. "Tomorrow, we'll return to the catacombs. This time, we'll be fully prepared. We'll follow the map and the instructions on the scrolls. And with any luck, we'll find the relic." As they made their preparations, the group couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. They were on the verge of uncovering a piece of history, a secret that had been hidden for centuries. But they also knew the dangers that lay ahead. The catacombs were a treacherous place, and they would need all their skills and knowledge to navigate its depths. The next evening, they descended once more into the catacombs, their determination unwavering. They followed the map and the instructions on the scrolls, carefully avoiding traps and false passages. The journey was arduous, but they pressed on, driven by the promise of discovery. Finally, they reached a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings, and in the center stood a pedestal holding a small ornate chest. The air was thick with an almost palpable sense of history and reverence. "This is it," Henry whispered. "The final chamber." Marie approached the pedestal, her hands trembling with excitement. She carefully opened the chest, revealing a small intricate "We've found it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "The Templar's relic." The group stood in silence, absorbing the magnitude of their discovery. They had uncovered a piece of history, a secret that had been hidden for centuries. But as they celebrated their success, they knew their journey was far from over. They had to protect the relic and ensure its secrets were preserved for future generations. Chapter 5. Shadows of the Past. With the relic in their possession, the group made their way back to the surface, their minds racing with thoughts of what they had discovered. They gathered at Henry's apartment, eager to examine the relic and decipher its secrets. Marie carefully placed the reliquary on the table, her eyes gleaming with excitement. This relic is more than just a piece of history. It holds the key to understanding the Templars' legacy. Sophie examined the carvings on the reliquary, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns. "These symbols are similar to the ones we found in the Catacombs. They must hold some significance." Henry nodded. The Templars were known for their use of symbols and codes. If we can decipher these carvings, we might be able to unlock the secrets of the relic. Antoine, ever the pragmatist, suggested they visit the historical sites in Paris linked to the Templars. "We need to gather more information. The clues we found in the Catacombs might point us to other locations where the Templars left their mark." The group agreed, setting out on a journey through the city. They visited churches, museums, and libraries, each site offering new insights into the Templars' history. At the Sainte-Chapelle, they discovered stained glass windows depicting the Templars' trials and tribulations. At the Musée de Cluny, they found artifacts and manuscripts that shed light on the Templars' rituals and beliefs. Marie meticulously documented their findings, her historian's mind piecing together the puzzle. The Templars were not just warriors, they were scholars and keepers of knowledge. This relic was meant to protect their secrets. Sophie photographed the symbols and inscriptions they found, creating a digital archive of their discoveries. "These symbols are like a language. If we can understand them, we might be able to uncover the true purpose of the relic." As they delved deeper into their research, the group began to feel the weight of their mission. The Templars had hidden their knowledge to protect it from those who would misuse it. Now, it was up to them to ensure that the relic's secrets were preserved and protected. But as they moved from one site to another, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Shadows seemed to follow them, and the sense of unease grew with each passing day. One evening, as they returned to Henry's apartment, they found the door ajar. Inside, the place had been ransacked, and the relic was missing. "We've been discovered," Henry said, his voice trembling with anger. "Someone else is after the relic." Antoine clenched his fists. "We need to find out who did this and get the relic back. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands." Sophie checked her surveillance equipment, hoping to find clues about the intruders. "I've got some footage. Let's see if we can identify them." As they reviewed the footage, they saw shadowy figures moving through the apartment, their faces obscured. But one detail stood out. A distinctive emblem on their clothing, one that matched the rival faction Henry had warned them about. "They know about the relic," Lucas said, his voice grim. "And they won't stop until they have it." The group knew they had to act quickly. The relic was too important to be left in the hands of those who sought only power and greed. They had to find the rival faction and retrieve the relic before it was too late. Chapter 6. The Pursuit. Determined to recover the relic, the group set out to track down the rival faction. They knew time was against them, and every moment the relic was out of their hands increased the risk of its secrets being exploited. Henry had a contact in the Parisian underworld who might have information. The group made their way to a dimly lit bar in a less frequented part of the city. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the scent of strong spirits. Henry approached a man sitting in the corner, his face partially obscured by shadows. "Jean," Henry greeted him. We need information. Jean looked up, his eyes narrowing. Henry, it's been a while. What do you need? Henry explained their predicament, describing the emblem they had seen on the intruders. Jean listened carefully, then nodded. I know the group you are talking about. They're mercenaries, hired by a wealthy collector obsessed with the Templars. They operate out of an old warehouse by the river. Antoine leaned in. How do we get in? Jean smirked. You need to be smart. They're heavily guarded and they don't take kindly to intruders. But there's a way in through the sews. It connects to the basement of the warehouse. With a plan in place, the group made their way to the sews, navigating the dark, foul-smelling tunnels. The air was damp and the sound of water dripping echoed around them. As they moved through the maze of tunnels, they felt the weight of the task ahead. Finally, they reached the basement entrance of the warehouse. Antoine led the way, using his skills to disable the alarm system. They entered quietly, moving through the shadows to avoid detection. The warehouse was filled with crates and equipment, the air heavy with tension. In the center of the room, they saw the relic, placed on a makeshift altar surrounded by armed guards. The collector, a man with a look of obsession in his eyes, was examining the carvings. We need to act quickly, Henry whispered. We can't let them take the relic. Lucas, ever the strategist, suggested a diversion. I'll create a distraction. The rest of you, get the relic. Lucas moved silently, positioning himself near a stack of crates. With a swift motion, he knocked them over, causing a loud crash. The guards turned their attention to the noise, giving the others a chance to move in. Marie, Antoine, Sophie, and Henry made their way to the altar, their movements quick and precise. They reached the relic, but just as they were about to grab it, the collector noticed them. Stop! He shouted, drawing a weapon. Antoine tackled him, a fierce struggle ensuing. The guards, realizing what was happening, turned their attention back to the group. A chaotic fight broke out, the sound of shouts and gunfire filling the warehouse. Sophie grabbed the relic, holding it tightly as they fought their way to the exit. Lucas rejoined them, helping to fend off the guards. They moved through the warehouse, their hearts pounding with adrenaline. Finally, they reached the exit, escaping into the night with the relic in their possession. They didn't stop running until they were far away from the warehouse, their breaths heavy and their bodies exhausted. We did it, Marie said, holding the relic close. But we can't let our guard down. They'll come after us again. Henry nodded. We need to find a safe place to hide the relic and figure out our next move. As they made their way to a new hideout, they couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment mixed with apprehension. They had the relic, but the danger was far from over. They had to stay vigilant and protect the secrets they had uncovered. Chapter 7. The Betrayal. The group found refuge in an abandoned building on the outskirts of Paris, a place where they could regroup and plan their next steps. They knew they had to be cautious, as the rival faction would not give up easily. Henry examined the relic, his eyes filled with wonder. This relic is more than just a piece of history. It holds the key to understanding the Templars' legacy. We need to decipher its secrets. Marie and Sophie worked together to analyze the carvings and symbols on the reliquary. Antoine and Lucas stood guard, keeping a watchful eye on their surroundings. Tensions were high, but the group was determined to protect the relic. As the hours passed, Marie made a breakthrough. These symbols, they're a code. If we can decode them, we might be able to unlock the relic's secrets. Sophie nodded, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Let's get to work. We don't have much time. But as they worked, Lucas grew increasingly restless. He paced back and forth, his eyes darting to the door. Antoine noticed his agitation and approached him. Lucas, is everything okay? Antoine asked, concern in his voice. Lucas hesitated, then sighed. There's something I need to tell you. I haven't been completely honest. Antoine's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Before Lucas could respond, the door burst open, and the rival faction stormed in. They had been betrayed. Lucas had been working with the rival faction all along, feeding them information about the group's movements. Chaos erupted as the intruders attacked. Antoine, Marie, Sophie, and Henry fought back, but they were outnumbered. In the midst of the struggle, Lucas tried to grab the relic, but Antoine tackled him, their fight spilling into the hallway. "You betrayed us," Antoine shouted, his anger palpable. Lucas struggled, his eyes filled with regret. "I didn't have a choice. They threatened my family." Antoine hesitated, the weight of Lucas's words sinking in. But before he could respond, the leader of the rival faction appeared, a gun in his hand. "Enough," he said, his voice cold. "Hand over the relic." Marie, holding the relic, stepped forward. "You don't understand what you are dealing with. This relic is too powerful to be in the wrong hands." The leader sneered. "That's exactly why we want it. Power is everything." In a desperate move, Marie threw the relic to Sophie, who ran towards the exit. The leader fired his gun, and a bullet grazed Sophie's arm, causing her to stumble. But she managed to keep going, determined to protect the relic. Antoine and Henry fought off the remaining intruders, their movements fueled by adrenaline and determination. Lucas, realizing the gravity of his actions, turned against the rival faction, helping his former friends. Together, they managed to fend off the intruders and escape the building. They regrouped in a safe location, their breaths heavy and their bodies battered. Lucas, his face. Antoine sighed, the anger in his eyes softening. "We understand. But you have to earn back our trust." Lucas nodded, determined to make amends. "I will. I'll do whatever it takes." With the relic still in their possession, the group knew they had to find a way to decode its secrets and protect it from those who sought to exploit its power. The journey was far from over, but they were more determined than ever to uncover the truth and preserve the legacy of the Knights Templar. Chapter 8. The Templar Legacy. In the aftermath of the betrayal, the group found themselves in a new safe house, a small apartment in a quiet part of Paris. They knew they couldn't stay hidden for long, but they needed time to regroup and plan their next steps. Marie, Sophie, Henry, Antoine, and Lucas gathered around the table, the relic placed carefully in the center. Marie spoke first, her voice steady and determined. "We need to decode the symbols on this relic. It's the only way to understand its true purpose and protect it from those who seek to misuse its power." Sophie nodded. "I've been researching the symbols we found in the catacombs and comparing them to historical texts. I believe they form a code, one that we can decipher with the right knowledge." Henry leaned forward, his eyes filled with curiosity. The Templars were known for their use of codes and ciphers. If we can crack this code, we might be able to unlock the secrets of the relic. Antoine, ever the pragmatist, suggested they visit a library with a vast collection of historical manuscripts. "We need access to resources that can help us decode these symbols. The Bibliothèque Nationale de France might have what we need." The group agreed, setting out for the library the next morning. They spent hours poring over ancient texts and manuscripts, searching for clues that could help them decode the relic's symbols. It was a painstaking process, but their determination never wavered. Finally, Marie made a breakthrough. "I've found it," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "These symbols are a variation of the Templar cipher. If we use the key provided in this manuscript, we can decode the message." Sophie quickly got to work, applying the key to the symbols on the relic. As she decoded the message, a sense of awe and reverence filled the room. "It's a map," Sophie said, her voice trembling with excitement. "A map that leads to a hidden Templar archive. The relic is a guide, meant to lead us to their most closely guarded secrets." Henry's eyes gleamed with anticipation. The Templars' archive, it could contain invaluable knowledge, documents, and artifacts that have been hidden for centuries. "We have to find it." Antoine agreed. "But we need to be cautious. The rival faction will stop at nothing to get their hands on the relic and the knowledge it contains." Lucas, determined to prove his loyalty, offered to help. "I know a place where we can prepare for the journey. A safe house where we can gather supplies and plan our route." The group made their way to the safe house, a secluded location on the outskirts of Paris. There, they prepared for the journey ahead, gathering supplies and mapping out their route based on the decoded message. As they made their preparations, they couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation and excitement. They were on the verge of uncovering one of history's greatest secrets, a legacy that had been hidden for centuries. But they also knew the dangers that lay ahead. The rival faction was still out there, and they would stop at nothing to get their hands on the relic and the knowledge it contained. The group was determined to protect the Templar legacy and ensure that the secrets they uncovered were preserved and respected. With the relic in their possession and the decoded map as their guide, they set out on their journey, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 9. The Final Journey. The group's journey took them through the winding streets of Paris, following the map's directions to a location deep within the catacombs. The air was filled with a sense of anticipation and determination as they navigated the underground tunnels, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. Henry led the way, the decoded map in hand. According to the map, the Templar archive is hidden in a chamber that has been sealed for centuries. We need to find a way to open it. Marie examined the carvings and symbols on the walls, searching for clues. The Templars were known for their use of codes and hidden mechanisms. If we can decipher the symbols, we might be able to unlock the chamber. Antoine and Lucas kept a watchful eye on their surroundings, ready to defend the group from any potential threats. They knew the rival faction was still out there, and they had to be prepared for anything. As they moved deeper into the catacombs, they came across a series of intricate carvings and symbols. Sophie photographed them, creating a digital record of their findings. "This is it," Marie said, her voice filled with excitement. "These symbols form a code, a key that can unlock the chamber." Sophie quickly applied the key to the symbols, and with a series of clicks and whirs, the chamber door slowly opened, revealing a hidden passage. The group entered the passage, their flashlights illuminating the way. The air was cool and damp, and the sound of their footsteps echoed around them. They moved cautiously, aware of the potential dangers that lay ahead. Finally, they reached the Templar archive, a vast chamber filled with ancient manuscripts, artifacts, and relics. The air was thick with a sense of history and reverence, and the group couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at what they had discovered. "This is incredible," Henry said, his voice filled with wonder. "We've found the Templars' most closely guarded secrets." Marie carefully examined the manuscripts, her historian's mind piecing together the puzzle. These documents contain invaluable knowledge about the Templars' history, their rituals, and their beliefs. We need to document everything. Sophie photographed the manuscripts and artifacts, creating a digital archive of their findings. Antoine and Lucas kept a watchful eye on their surroundings, ready to defend the group if needed. As they worked, they couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. They had uncovered one of history's greatest secrets, a legacy that had been hidden for centuries. But their sense of accomplishment was short-lived. Suddenly, they heard footsteps approaching. The rival faction had found them. "We need to get out of here," Henry said, his voice filled with urgency. "We can't let them get their hands on this knowledge." The group quickly gathered their findings, making their way back through the passage. The rival faction was close behind, and a fierce chase ensued through the catacombs. With quick thinking and determination, the group managed to outmaneuver their pursuers, emerging from the catacombs and into the streets of Paris. They knew they couldn't rest until the Templar legacy was safe. Chapter 10. Preserving the Legacy. With the Templar archive in their possession, the group knew they had to act quickly to protect the knowledge they had uncovered. They made their way to a safe location, a secluded library with the resources they needed to preserve the Templar legacy. Marie and Sophie carefully examined the manuscripts and artifacts, documenting their findings and creating a digital archive. Antoine and Lucas stood guard, ready to defend the group from any potential threats. "We need to ensure this knowledge is protected," Marie said, her voice filled with determination. "The Templars hid these secrets for a reason. We can't let them fall into the wrong hands." Sophie nodded. "I've created a digital archive of everything we've found. But we also need to find a secure place to store the physical manuscripts and artifacts." Henry suggested they contact a trusted historian and archivist who could help them. Professor Dubois has dedicated his life to preserving historical knowledge. He can help us find a secure location for the Templar archive. The group agreed, setting up a meeting with Professor Dubois. They explained their findings and the importance of preserving the Templar legacy. Professor Dubois listened carefully, his eyes gleaming with interest. "This is a remarkable discovery. The Templars' knowledge must be protected and preserved for future generations. I can help you find a secure location and ensure the archive is properly cared for. With Professor Dubois' help, the group arranged for the Templar archive to be stored in a secure climate-controlled facility. They also created a detailed record of their findings, ensuring the knowledge was preserved for future generations. As they worked, they couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. They had uncovered one of history's greatest secrets and ensured it was protected and preserved. But they also knew their journey was far from over. The rival faction was still out there, and they had to remain vigilant to protect the Templar legacy. With the Templar archive safely stored and the digital archive complete, the group reflected on their journey. They had faced countless dangers and challenges, but their determination and teamwork had seen them through. As they stood together, they couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. They had uncovered the secrets of the Knights Templar and preserved their legacy for future generations. And they knew, deep in their hearts, that their journey had only just begun. Epilogue. The dust had settled, and Paris returned to its usual rhythm. Life in the city continued as it always had, with its blend of history and modernity, but for Marie, Sophie, Henry, Antoine, and Lucas, nothing would ever be quite the same. Their adventure had left an indelible mark on them, transforming their understanding of history and themselves. The Templar archive now resided securely within the confines of a specially designed facility, protected by the latest in security technology and overseen by Professor Dubois and his trusted team. The physical relics were carefully preserved, and the digital archive Sophie had created ensured that the knowledge they had uncovered would be accessible to future generations of historians and scholars. Marie stood in front of a glass case housing one of the most significant manuscripts from the Templar archive. She marveled at the meticulous script and intricate illustrations. "It's incredible," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. "We've not just preserved history, we've brought it back to life." Sophie joined her, a smile playing on her lips. "And to think, it all started with a simple discovery in the Catacombs. We've come a long way." Henry entered the room, carrying a small box. "I thought you might want to see this," he said, placing the box on the table. Inside was the original reliquary, the very item that had set their journey in motion. "It's symbolic of our journey," he continued. "A reminder of what we've achieved together." Antoine and Lucas arrived shortly after, completing the group. "We should celebrate," Antoine suggested. "Not just our success, but the fact that we did it together." The group agreed, and they decided to visit their favorite cafe, a place where they had shared countless discussions and moments of camaraderie. The evening was filled with laughter, reminiscence, and a deep sense of fulfillment. They knew that their bond, forged in the fires of their adventure, would remain strong, no matter where life took them. As they sat under the warm glow of the cafe lights, Henry raised a toast. "To the Templar legacy," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "And to our journey. May we always cherish the memories and lessons we've gained." Marie, Sophie, Antoine, and Lucas raised their glasses, echoing Henry's sentiment. "To the Templar legacy and our journey," they chorused, clinking their glasses together. In the days that followed, each member of the group returned to their lives, but the experience had changed them in profound ways. Marie continued her work as a historian, but with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that history wasn't just about studying the past, it was about understanding the stories that shaped the world. Sophie used her skills in photography and digital archiving to work on new projects, always carrying with her the lessons she had learned about the importance of preserving knowledge. Henry dedicated himself to further research, inspired by the Templars' quest for understanding and wisdom. Antoine and Lucas, who had faced their own personal challenges during the journey, found new paths forward. Antoine continued his work as a detective, but with a deeper appreciation for the complexities of history and human nature. Lucas, having redeemed himself in the eyes of his friends, found a renewed sense of purpose and commitment to making amends for his past mistakes. The city of Paris, with its timeless beauty and hidden secrets, remained the backdrop to their lives. And though their journey had ended, the bond they shared and the legacy they had uncovered would continue to inspire them. As the sun set over the Seine, casting a golden glow over the city, Marie stood on a bridge, looking out at the horizon. She felt a sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing that they had done something truly remarkable. The Templar legacy, preserved and protected, was a testament to the power of history and the enduring spirit of those who seek the truth. And as Marie watched the lights of Paris twinkle in the twilight, she knew that their adventure had not only changed their lives, but had also contributed to the greater tapestry of history. And so, the story of the Templar relic, the hidden archive, and the brave group of friends who uncovered its secrets, became another chapter in the rich and storied history of Paris. A story that would be remembered and celebrated for generations to come.